So all of this is recorded. I send it to the newsletter as well. And that's all AR/VR founders. The group today is a majority AR/VR founders, but a mix of some AI and kind of related tech as well. So basically, this is the Spatial Collective, and what I try to like the way I think about all this stuff is that, and I'm sure you can, disagree with some of the ordering here, but there's kind of like similar patterns to all startups. You're the sole founder, you validate some sort of demands with like, a pre-product, then you build out the product, get some sort of pricing proven, test it with a community on Discord or whatever it is. And then eventually you go out to your fundraise, and that's, your story, your network, and your ability to close capital. And so what we're doing with the Spatial Collective is we're trying to really work with founders to get them to a fundable state. And it's an annual program. So people come in here at all different stages, and, we try to work them through and understand how great founders have gotten through that phase as well. And so what we're going to do today is a little bit of a story time with you. We want to hear the founder stories. We want to hear, some of the kind of the campfire tales you've gone through. It sounds like it's been quite an insane journey.
But I'm
Uh,
getting old.
what was that?
I'm getting old.
No, you're younger than me. I'm young. Are you under 30 still, or was that?
I turned 30 next week.
Oh, okay. And when did you get the Forbes 30 under? When was that?
That was a year ago.
Nice. Okay, so you're younger than me. Congrats. One day you'll be able to grow my beard. It'd be great. Okay, so this is a quote that I found. My brother got me into VR when I was a freshman in college as a passion project.
Yes,
That is
sir.
from you. And, fast forward all these years, you have almost 25,000 five-star ratings on the Quest store.
Yeah.
I worked at Meta. That is insane.
Yeah, one of our investors, his name's JP from Hartman Capital.
Yeah, he's come and spoken with us before,
Yeah,
actually.
he's great. He just sent me like 3 days ago because he always analyzes data and puts it. I feel like he knows more about my company sometimes than I do, but apparently we're the highest rated shooter, and I think we're like the 10th or 12th like most rated of all time. So I'm really proud of that. Um, I don't know 100%, but I do think that getting good reviews somehow influences the algorithm
Yeah.
on Meta's platform because we've been able, JP and I were able to dissect that, like getting the first 1,000 reviews was very difficult. And then now it's like the snowball effect has started to really increase momentum. And we think that, getting good reviews just tells Meta, hey, you should show this to more people. So we're super happy and proud of that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think Golf Plus is like the third most reviewed game of all time, though. I always see him tweeting and writing things on LinkedIn. I think he's like at 50,000, so like halfway to him.
yeah, and I think they just got top paid app, which is pretty impressive.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh
Last
yeah,
month.
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, I think he's the most reviewed paid game, and then there's two more games, Gorilla Tag and Yeeps, that are more reviewed, but they're free. So what he did is very impressive.
Agreed. And I want to get into like your pricing strategy, your marketing strategy. You did some very clever stuff that I think basically everyone should
I've
follow.
tried everything. I don't
Yeah,
even know
you've
what
tried
works, to be honest, at
everything.
this point, just because I've tried so many random things.
Yeah, but before that, can we set the table with this chart right here? And I think, for us, it's good to understand kind of the story arc of the fundraise. So can you maybe start us off here
Yeah, yeah.
and talk
So,
through this?
2017, I think I was a sophomore in college, Miami-Dade College here in Miami. My brother has always been a programmer and an artist. And at the time, he was dating a woman named Elizabeth that was also a musician artist. And what they wanted to do was essentially create, um, instead of just dropping an album for her first album, they wanted to make it like an immersive experience. So they were messing around with Unreal Engine and essentially like I think it was like 2016, 17, they launched. It's still on Steam. It's our first project ever. It's called Water Planet. It's essentially an hour long soundtrack album that you get to experience in VR. So instead of watching a music video, you get to be in the world and listen to the sounds and the music while being in VR. It was actually very cool. Like Red Bull ended up sponsoring us. We did a lot of events with museums and things like that. And then what ended up happening?
What was your role there? So your brother showed you VR, he's dating Elizabeth, they together start building this app. Like what is your
Yeah, so
value
so my
there?
brother, he owned a music label with like maybe 6 people on it, and I used to live with him during college. So me paying rent was basically all the bitch work for the label. So I just managed a lot of bookings and logistics and things like that. And she was working on her music album. They started doing this as like a side project. Eventually, when it launched, it got critical acclaim. Like everybody was like, "Oh wow, like this is the first VR." Music album thing. And then we started getting a lot of musicians that were reaching out to us, like, oh, can you make a music video in VR for us? So I was just there, just like coordinating. We did it for one other musician, but in reality, super expensive. No one really had VR headsets in 2017, 2018. So it was more of like a cool novelty thing. And then Albert started working on his music because he's also a musician. He started working on his music album. But in reality, it got to the point around 2018, 2019 where, so I'll give you a funny thing. We went on Steam, right? And I think we grossed, I don't know, 40, $50,000. Everybody left a 5-star review, but Steam has a really good return policy. If it's under 2 hours, no questions asked. It was an hour long music experience. Our refund rate, I forgot what it was, but it was like 80%. So it's like, dude, how the fuck are you going to play this thing that took us forever to make? It's revolutionary, 5-star review, refund. Because you listen to it, you do it
Funny.
once, it's done. So then talking to Albert, I'm like, Albert, hey, if you're going to do your thing, it needs to be for sure more than 2 hours, so you can't refund it. And there has to be some sort of replayability. It can't just be like, one and done experience, like, oh wow, that's cool because we're gonna go bankrupt on it, right?
Also, that's a ton of money at that age. You're in your early 20s. I mean, 50 grand having to be refunded sucks.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say 50 grand, even if we kept the money, dude, we spent like 20 grand on like PR agencies. Steam takes 30%, and like we worked on it for a year. So we
Yeah.
were very negative. I was very passionate, I promise. Red Bull ended up sponsoring us though, so we got a little bit of cash, way too much Red Bull. Got to the point where we had to start sending the Red Bull back because it was just cases and cases of it. But the experience with Water Planet on Steam, working with one another musician, that it was just, have you ever seen that chart of uh, it's a chart talking about people hiring designers, and it's like if you tell me what to design and leave me alone, it's very cheap. But if you tell me what to design and then want to like be involved with the whole process, it's very expensive. Trying to make a music video experience for other artists
Right.
doesn't make sense. We'd have to charge so much money that nobody would pay. It didn't work. So then for Albert's project, it really got into the replayability thing. And 2018, 2019, 2020, those 3 years, scope creep. Hey, let's add some shooting mini game thing. Hey, let's make it multiplayer. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. And then I think it was Christmas 20, I don't remember. Onward and Pavlov, two big shooter games came out. I don't remember. I think it was like 18, 19 around then. And I thought VR was cool, but I'm a hardcore gamer. Everything I saw was like, little tech demos. Like I thought it was cool, but nothing crazy. When Pavlov and Onward came out, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like this is what my childhood, self-imagined in the future. This is crazy. And then the funny thing is Albert already had built in some really good mechanics for like this music experience thing. And it was
Mhm.
just kind of like a thing where we both looked at each other and we're like, you're already making like a super hot type thing, right? It's gonna be multiplayer so people can do it together, replay. Like we're just gonna we ended up taking this music project and scope creeping it to a full on, multiplayer shooter. So at that point, I got addicted to. I played Onward a little bit, but I really got addicted to Pavlov, and I started playing every day. I made a lot of friends. My brother and Elizabeth were working on, at the time it was called Shifted. That was like our, undercover name until we went legit and realized that that was taken by lawyers. But what ended up happening is I think it was like 2018, 2019. I already it all blends in, but I started a Discord group of people that just wanted to play because early on, you know, if a game had 100 concurrent, that was like, oh my God, right? And that's across the world, so the ping was crazy. So we had to like make communities to agree, hey, we're gonna play at this time together, Pavlov. And then what ended up happening is my brother had an alpha thing, and I was already cool with these people for about a year. And randomly, I'm like, hey, you guys want to try out something my brother built? And they all tried it and were blown away. In reality, I was in the same storage room playing Pavlov while my brother was working on Veil. And every time something pissed me off in Pavlov, I'd note it. Anytime someone mentioned, oh, I wish this was that way, I wish this was this way, I'd note it. So I was just playing video games for a job, right? 24/7, feeding him information. So by the time, and by the way, I was playing with like the very competitive, like hardcore players. So like casual people didn't care about these things, but we solved a lot of the technical challenges for a multiplayer competitive shooter. Like you need to see your body. Imagine having an invisible body getting shot. You don't know. You have to be able to lean around walls because in Pavlov or these games, like you tilt your head out, your whole body shows you don't know it. There's like a lot of little things. Getting every player in VR to be the exact same height was like a technical nightmare as well.
Hmm.
You have 4 foot children, and then you have 7 foot giants. You got to figure it all out. So
Hmm.
we solved all these problems, showed it off in very early alpha, and kind of went viral on Steam. This is pre-Quest days.
So
Uh,
can I ask a quick question about the community before you dive into
yeah.
that? How so like, one of the things I was saying here on the start of this is that like these five things are fundamental to a company and fundraise, and they're not necessarily always in this order. You kind of accidentally built this test community without really trying. Like you were just, bringing people together to play a different type of game. How big was that community? And like specifically, how important were they early on when you did have your
Oh,
MVP and started getting
we maybe
people?
had about 500 people actively playing in the Discord community. At the
Uh-huh.
time, that's pretty big for VR, and that was that's what started us off. I mean, like
Yeah.
without that, um it would have never happened. And I'm going to tell everybody here, I'm a very not traditional founder in the sense of I'm from Miami, didn't even know what venture capital was. I didn't even know I didn't imagine that venture capital would ever want to fund video games because I did research. I'm not stupid. Hey, how do you fund video games? Publishers. Like that's the normal model. Like I never saw, VCs funding games. That's kind of like a new phenomena that happened like around COVID, honestly. So we never built our company initially with the thought of like this is a VC backable thing. It
Mm.
was really just like a passion project that kind of snowballed. And I think our initial budget was 100 grand. Then we're like, okay, we need 300 grand. Then we need 500 grand. That was my entire life savings, my brother's life savings, and money from my mom. And then at one point, we're like, oh my God, we need even more money. And that's kind of when I was totally out of money and just like, what am I going to do? I started seeing some VCs investing in VR games. I'm like, wait, I didn't think VCs invested in VR games. And then that's kind of when I started going down that rabbit hole and trying to understand like what it was because I spoke to publishers. No publisher wanted to, other than Meta, right? No publisher wanted to invest in VR games either. So I really didn't plan on that. Um, because
Okay.
I
So
do think that VR games are very difficult to fund if it's just going to be a game because it's not really VC backable. Like you have to have some sort of tech stack that's scalable. Like just making a game is not really enough to be VC backable, which I now know.
you self-fund this early portion, more or less.
Yeah, from like 2017 to like 2020,
Yeah.
it was fully self-funded. Me, my brother, dozens of friends, family, like it was like I'd get 5, 10, 20K like every month from somebody. And we never really knew how much it was going to cost because we didn't know. We didn't know. It was the first time everything.
And so you just recently announced you've done 5.5 million in revenue. You also raised 5 million in 2022 and you've raised more since then. But so right before you raised this 5 million, where's the revenue at? How far along is the actual game?
Um,
Um, And yeah,
2022. So we launched Steam Early Access end of 2022. So, oh, this 5 million was pre-revenue.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This 5 million was pre-revenue. We
You just had
had
insane engagement.
our retention right now is like we have like 20% 1 year retention. Like
Wow.
it's unbelievable. Like
Wow.
that's the one thing that I'm very proud of.
Wow.
Um, so we're in a very interesting position right now where most of our competitors are something in VR,
Hmm.
right? Like Call of Duty in VR, Escape from Tarkov in VR, Rainbow Six Siege in VR. So they have this huge marketing funnel where in reality the way that video games are sold today are just TikToks. So like a kid will see a TikTok, oh, Rainbow Six Siege in VR, and then they're gonna go buy the game and whatever, right? 99% of the money comes from just like that first sale. So if a user spends 5 minutes or 100 hours, you're still making the same amount of money, right? So for us, we're not anything in VR. So it's very difficult to acquire users for us, honestly. But once we have a user in our game, they just can't go anywhere else. Like the quality of life settings and features and mechanics and like just from the movement, the graphic, like everything just works the way you want it to work. So like our constant struggle has been trying to compete against multi-billion-dollar name brand things that other people in VR are just copying, right? They're getting all the money. If the user says it's 1 star and plays 5 minutes, they still made all the money. Once we get a user, we keep them though, right? So like that's kind of like been our challenge. So yeah, the reason why we've been able to raise pre-revenue is just our early. I think I forgot what it was, but like we had like 50% day 30 retention on the first like 5,000 users. This was Steam. Steam was
Yeah.
also, an older demographic. So like retention's always been our number one thing, and that's really been the main thing we've been able to raise money on. The second thing is just it's original IP. Um, like it's crazy to think, but in the future, there will come a day where you can't just say this is Call of Duty in VR and one-to-one copy it. Call of Duty, Pokemon, these companies, when you're making a couple $1 million in VR, it's okay. But when you start, when VR blows up and makes $100 million, they can retroactively go and take all that money away from you. It's just how IP law works. So if you're a venture capitalist, you kind of have to decide, do I want to invest in something that like they own the IP or that they're banking off someone else's IP, and it's very risky. So original IP, really high retention, and then I'm not technical, but like a lot of the technical things that we've been able to build, there's been some startups that have been acquired by Apple and Meta that just have one of our things, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars for like that one solution. Like we have like to give you a funny thing, like we've had legs in VR like since 2018, like
Mhm.
full body animation and all works and it's replicated properly and it's multiplayer. And that's like one of the little things. But yeah, I think the most important thing if you're trying to make a game or an app or anything, small cohort of users with really high stickiness. Um, that's really like the main thing that I've noticed people really gravitate towards.
When you first launched the early product to the test community, you saw that from day one, that level of retention, like you just had it from day one.
When the first 6 months that we did it,
Hmm.
um, we only opened up the servers on weekends.
Hmm.
So being honest here, I think one of the things that was lucky is because we weren't always available, people were like, I need to play, on the weekend Veil. So we
Hmm.
had 6 months of just like the early testing phase. There was a feature on Steam that like lets you do like an open play test thing, and we just turn it on the weekends. It was ridiculous. Like we had 50% day 30 retention, and we maintained that throughout the 6 months that we were doing our alpha, and that's kind of what everybody was gravitating towards. The one thing we didn't expect is the Quest market to really just be 99% of VR, because we were doing our early alpha testing like pre Quest 2 and COVID. So
Hmm.
like that kind of, came out of nowhere and we had to repivot and change everything to, run on Quest instead of a $3,000 PC.
That's exactly how Rec Room did it as well. They had their Friday play test, and probably for the first 9 months, you could only play Rec Room during like 2 hour period on Friday. But to your point, it just like created such a tight knit group of people that were passionate about it that it really was probably one of the keys to success.
Yeah, like looking back, I think not having it 24/7
Mhm.
available, it created this demand. And like at one point, we had a waiting list of over 100,000 people that wanted to play, and we would only let in like 1,000 people at a time. The reason why we did it, it wasn't strategic, right? It wasn't like I could tell you, like, oh yeah, very strategic creating demand. We did it because we let in like 10,000 people one time. There was so much feedback, it was overwhelming that I was like, the most we could do is let in 1,000 people at a time so I can get proper feedback. But then only letting in 1,000 people, like everybody else just like FOMO'd on it. So it was pretty good for us.
That's awesome. And when did you launch the paid part of this, and what is the pricing strategy?
So the paid game launched for $30 November 2022.
Hmm.
And then we launched February 2024, also 29.99 on Quest, and that was like our official 1.0 launch. Took us almost a year just to get from Steam to Quest. Very difficult. We also upgraded from Unreal Engine 4 to 5, and we maintained like if you play Veil today on a PC, we the cheap way to do it is crush all the the triangles, crush all the graphics, right? You can get beautiful, like you can see sweat on the characters on PC, and you can play it on Quest 2 or 3 or 3S. So like we really wanted to maintain that because the best way to show Veil, like if someone has a Ferrari, we want them to be able to drive it on our track, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of games I play on my 4090 GPU that look the same, whether it's PC VR or Quest, and it kind of frustrates me. Um, but yeah, we launched 2022 November, early access Steam, February 2024, and then just 3 months ago we decided to change the pricing. So as I told you, our 1 year plus retention is through the roof, and we realized, hey, if everyone just tries the product, they kind of stick around. So let's try to do something free to play. So we actually went like 3 months ago, we changed to free to play. But the
Hmm.
way it works is you can download the game for free. You can play in our social hub. There's all these like mini games like golf, hockey, basketball. There's like a whole like area where you can go mining and like do random things. There's a shooting range. There's like an arena with 1v1 zone. And then you can play mini versions of the maps, like battlegrounds is what we call it. If you want to play the full game, you have to get the pass. The pass is $30. And we've seen our conversion is now skyrocketed basically because Veil does it's not anything in VR. So no consumer is like, oh, like this is COD in VR, Escape from Tarkov in VR. I need to get it. They're like, what is this thing? It's highly rated. It's free. Let me just get it. To give you an idea, we went from like um, a 10% click to buy ratio. We're now at 60% click to download ratio.
Oh, that
So
makes sense. Yeah.
Quest
And
is very
what's the conversion on that 60% to purchasing from there?
right now about 25% are converting, which is
Okay, so
very
that's like 18 net. So you've improved
we've
8%.
almost yeah, we've almost doubled. We've 10x our
Yeah,
user
almost
base and
doubled.
we've almost
Yeah.
doubled our revenue
Yep.
just by letting people come and try
Yep.
the core game because once you VR is this very funny thing where a video never shows it, right? Like there's been so many games I see, the video looks amazing, it just feels bad. And the feeling of walking, grabbing things, like turning, right? Like just basic things, like you can't demonstrate that in a video. So we kind of realize like unless we have some crazy gimmick, like there's a game called Cat, I Am Cat, right? Like it's so obvious. Like I am cat, I get to buy this thing and be a cat. I want it. Veil is no, I mean it's true. You have to think about these things because a lot of things what I learned is you're making 99% of your money on that initial sale. What's the psychology for that initial sale? No one is like, "Oh, you got to go buy Veil because walking feels really good." Oh, you got to go buy Veil because the guns feel really good. Kids don't talk like that. They're like, "Oh my God, in this game I can hit someone on the head with a pickaxe. I want to buy the game." It's like that one silly meme that goes viral that makes people buy games, or it's this big known brand in VR. So like just being good and high quality isn't enough to sell the thing, right? So like now that it's free, people are very chill. They're like, oh, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. Let me download it. And that's really been huge. It's only been 3 months for us, but that was like the whole conversation we had with our board. Like, did the free to play thing benefit us? And yes.
And
But we see that
is it a
funnel.
one-off payment once they convert, or is it an annual subscription once they
No,
convert?
so it's not a subscription. It's a one-off payment. We sell in-game cosmetics. About a third of our
Gotcha.
revenue come from cosmetics, and
Okay.
two-thirds come from the actual game. And this whole next year is all about how can we get recurring revenue, right? And the Golf Plus story is very inspirational for us right now. The issue with a shooter game is that the traditional model of monetizing a shooter game is a battle pass, and a battle pass requires an insane amount of content, and VR is not in a, like, our team and our industry is not in a place where we can have 30 people dedicated to making all these cosmetics every single month. It's going to be a never-ending hamster wheel. You can't let people buy guns that make them more powerful either, right? So how do we monetize a first person shooter without making it pay to win and without putting us in a position that we're just not able to deliver on this content? So now that we have the whole social thing, we're really starting to look like, do we start adding player homes? Do we let people buy cakes, consumables? Like, we're really leaning more in towards the social element of the shooter, because you can monetize infinitely there. You can't really monetize the core shooter that much. How many outfits is someone going to buy, really? Right now our peak is about $100 spent, $30 on the game and like $70 in cosmetics, and that's like a very small percentage. Like, no one really passes $100.
So you launched what, like sometime around November 2022, and between then and now, so call it 2.5 years, you've done 5.5 in top line revenue, 5.5 million
Yeah, now I think we're like at six.
in less. I mean, that's like almost less than 3 years. That's pretty incredible. But you're saying the issue is to get the VCs continuing to jump at it, you need some recurring story here.
Well, I'll just tell you this, like, $6 million is not like like, we're a team, we're very happy, right? Like, it's good for us, but you have to break down the math, right? If you make, I'm gonna make it round numbers. If you make $10 million, you're losing 30% off the top, like, just to the platform. So you're really making $7 million. Take $7 million, and in a game that makes about 10 million in VR, normally takes a team of 20 people, 30 people about 2 years, right? So I'm just gonna do $7 million divided by 24 months. That's about 300 grand a month. That's about our burn. You're break you're spending 2 3 years, $7 million, $10 million to go be a top game and make $10 million. Where is the
Risk reward.
where's the risk reward? The reality is the cost is fixed. It costs us $10 million to make the game. If we sell it to a billion people or if we sell it to one person, right? So the whole bet is, will VR become mainstream? Will it eventually eclipse, traditional flat screen gaming? And if it does, we can still build what we're building with the same cost, right? So, like, but right now, like, if you're a top 20 game, you're lucky to break even. So that's, like, it's funny because, like, whenever I talk to people, like, oh my God, you made $6 million, like, that's incredible. Um, we've only made $200,000, but then you talk to them, it's one guy, he did it in 6 months. So, like, in a weird way, is making 200 grand by yourself in 6 months more profitable than making $10 million in 3 years with a team of 30? Technically, yeah, in a very weird way, but it's also not venture backable, right? We're kind of venture backable, but like, we're really betting on the market. Early on, it's about, do you think this team can deliver? And, we've never delivered a game. I remember every VC that wrote us off, like, who on your team has shipped a game? No one, right? Now the question is, okay, you guys are a top game. That's de-risked. How much money is it going to cost to maintain you guys per year? And when do we think the market's going to have that hockey stick moment? Because, if VR blows up, we're first in line on the shooter side, and our costs are relatively fixed. But we don't know, right? Ask Mark Zuckerberg how long he thinks it's going to take.
That's such a tough predicament because you're treading water and that's expensive. And also you're on a hamster wheel with users, so you got to keep that going.
I mean, I'll just tell you, I spoke to, what's funny is I have a couple competitors that on the outside people think we all hate each other, but we all talk to each other all the time.
Mhm.
And I won't say the exact name because I don't think it's nice, but there's a game, all the press, 10 million plus. So you don't know who it is. Everyone's like, wow, 10 million plus. They're so rich. They're so that. I just looked at their financials because we shared financials. Dude, they're negative millions of dollars. Like, it's 30 people, 300K a month, 3 years of building, after the platform fee, after the Unreal Engine fee, after all the licenses, like they're negative. So like they're literally one of the top selling games on the platform. They're still negative millions of dollars. And they still need to get VCs to fund them just because eventually the bet is if you're first in line right now, as long as you're alive, you know, like I think most venture capitalists that I speak to today, it was different in 2020 with the, Quest 2 optimism. Like I think when I started, VCs were very comfortable with doing 20, $30 million budgets for games. Now, a VC will invest a million max. 250K is usually what they're giving. They're like, go make a silly prototype for 250K. If you get traction, I'll give you another million. But they're not passing that because it's not sustainable today. There's just a couple games that have spent a lot of money, us being included, that now we're kind of grandfathered in that as long as we're alive when that hockey stick moment comes in, there will be outsized returns. But when is that going to come is the whole, how many millions do we have to float until that happens?
That's fascinating. Um,
It's interesting. It's just, I'm being
yeah,
honest
that's
because a lot
that's
of
a
people on the
very
outside think we're
specific.
killing it. And like in a
Yeah.
weird way, we really are killing it. It's just things are expensive.
Yeah, relatively right, of course, but it's just I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's so dead on a VC side for VR. But it's interesting to hear your perspective where you're saying essentially they know that, but they also know if they can time this right and you catch the wave, you're going to be a big winner for them. But it's really dependent on Zuckerberg and Apple and all these other companies to get those headsets out there.
Yeah.
All right, so that's out of your control. This is one thing I freaking love that was in your control. I thought this was genius. And you talked about smart computers or powerful computers earlier. Um, so maybe like explain this for the audience here. So the way that I understand it, I saw this giveaway on
This was
YouTube.
actually, yeah, this is really big. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, go for it. Please explain it because
No,
I
nothing. So like always trying to find ways to market, right? And I'll tell you the most effect I've spent, I don't even want to tell you, too much money on marketing and very few things have ever broken even. One of the most effective marketing things that we've ever done, we did it 3 times because it was so effective. Huge influencer marketing campaign. But most people, they just go and hire 10 influencers and say, go talk about my product and drive sales. That doesn't do that much, I'll be honest. What does do a lot is telling every influencer to go do a giveaway of something, right? And what we did is we partnered with a computer company called Main Gear to offer this because a lot of people are just like, oh, go offer a Quest 3. The reality is most people watching already have a Quest 3, so like why do they care? What most people and a lot of people also like they already have a computer, like why do they care? So making this computer that was branded, the perceived value is priceless. So it's like, oh,
branded with the Twitch streamer that 800,000 people
yeah,
love.
he's like one of the biggest streamers, and we're
Yeah.
very close friends. He's also a Florida guy. He lives in Tampa, by the way. Um, he's I think he's the number one VR creator right now. What we did is we made this custom collaboration PC. It ended up being so nice. He wanted to keep it himself, but he couldn't. Um, every single person wanted to get this PC because it's no longer like a $5,000 value. It's like I'm gonna have this one of one thing that no one else has. And then what we did is we forced it was disgusting. I forced like 30 actions, like too many actions. Go review this, go comment on this, go follow this. But what it did is it created this wave on all the algorithms that we went viral on Steam, we went viral on Quest, we went viral on TikTok, we went viral on everything. Like one of the things was like watch this video for 1 minute. I want you to leave a comment on it. I want you to comment on somebody else's thing. I want you to share the thing with at least 3 people. Like it was so absurd, but all these people did it because they just wanted to get this one of one thing and it made all their things go viral. So I think we spent maybe like $50,000. And then we had all these other influencers promoting this guy's computer. So it went really well. We spent like $50,000 and I forgot what it was, but I think we got over 250,000 people to get involved in this thing, which just like blew up everything. Like this was very good for us. And it was actually a marketing guy that I met that gave me this idea and made it all happen, and it was really good because we had done like hire the 10 influencers to talk about the game. And what happens is you'll get one day of a bump, but then it will go away. We left this campaign running for like 60 days. Like it was so absurd, but like for 2 months, and it was just going more and more and more viral, like picking up even more momentum towards the end. It was probably what the best thing we've ever done to date.
It definitely seems to be. That was actually when I was studying everything, that was the initial question was what was the best marketing tactic you ever implemented? I mean, this is so genius.
It
Also,
was a giveaway offering a priceless one of one thing
yeah.
tied to someone that never does this, by the way, because Happy's never done this. He's never done it again. And like it was really like a one-off thing. And it was a lot of creative. Like we spent a lot of time working with the creator, with the company for the computer, like really doing something special. And then we also made an in-game skin for the creator where we gave him the proceeds of the cosmetic. So we didn't even pay him for this. The deal was we're gonna pay all the other creators to promote you. We're gonna get you this one-of-one computer that adds value to your brand, and we're gonna make you an in-game skin. That skin, the proceeds will go to you. So he was extremely incentivized to make amazing, authentic content. And since we didn't directly pay him for the content, it wasn't labeled as sponsored content. He was more of like an ambassador, and that was really it was just authentic, and that really helped.
Yeah, he could tell how excited he was in the video. And I think the other thing that was really interesting was, so this is the video, and in the description section, you can see here that you can go here to get the PC, and then he's also offering the 30% off on purchasing the game. I think most people would go with a strategy of just like, hey, make sure you offer 30% off. I thought this was one of the more genius marketing plans. And now hearing you talk about how it doesn't get labeled as paid, how they're, incentives, show me the incentives, I'll show you the result. Like Habby had every reason to go help make this a success. So I
Yeah,
was
and we're
very
still
excited.
we're still partners to this day, and he's been incredible. I think it's really whether it's good or bad is up to interpretation, but marketing is the most important thing, and nowadays like paid ads just don't really work. At least for me, they don't really work for us. You need to have like brand ambassadors. We have a program like a content creator program. We have 400 people in it. Every single month, we give them like three objectives. Like this month, we want to promote this feature, that feature. They all go make videos. I have a team of mods that analyze the videos. We reward people not just on views, but it's like a whole tiered system where we reward people on creativity, authenticity, and then they all get rewards. They get points every 3 months. We tally up the points. You start off at level 1, then level 2, then level 3. When you're level 1, you get access to like pre-launch things. When you get level 2, we actually start marketing you. So in our Discord and our Twitter, we like promote you to help you boost. And then if you hit level 3, Veil Brand Ambassador, you get your own in-game cosmetic with the revenue split. So like the number one thing that works is having people really promoting you, like making content for you. And the thing is, like when we paid influencers, like literally 1 out of 100 might break even. But when that influencer goes and says, "Oh, this is a paid post," like, dude, people skip. They don't care. Like when someone does a video, like I'll give you an example. If I paid certain influencers that would get 100,000 views, I'll get more conversion from a guy with 1,000 views than someone with 100,000 views. I'll even go as far as telling you, and this is dead serious, someone with 1 million views, I'd get 1 million views versus 1,000 views. I'll get more conversion on the 1,000 views. Paid,
Because
not
the
paid.
1,000 views aren't paid, you're saying.
Not paid 1,000 views, more
Yeah.
conversion than a paid 1 million views.
And those 1,000 views are coming from you business developed 400 creators together that are micro creators and said, okay, every time we need a message out there, it's your
So
job to create.
what we did is we hacked it. When I realized this, we partnered with a guy named Thrill Seeker, which is also a very large VR creator,
Right.
and he ran a campaign for us in his video saying, "Hey, open casting call for Thrill Seeker Media Group. Sign up here if you want to, get a chance to like be a creator." I forgot this was like 2 years ago, but it's what started it. Basically, we paid a creator to go tell all the micro creators that if they want to be like him, there's a program for them. So we paid one creator to go get all the small creators because you know who watches creators a lot? People that want to be a creator. So paying one big creator to start this program really helped, and the program's still very active today. And we still have a waiting list of people to get into our creator program.
That is insanely smart. Did you build software to manage all this, these
Dude,
400 people,
Google
or
spreadsheet and unpaid Discord moderators. It's all manual. It's very bad.
and so you'll literally just send this group of 400 creators a raw video file?
No, 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 no. We send the one-page brief.
Uh-huh.
These are all the features that we're adding to the game next month.
Yeah.
We let them test it on a release candidate branch. They get access to the thing. And
Mhm.
then basically they get to record their content. They have an embargo. The day that we launch the new thing, then they all post their content. They all submit it through a Google form, like sheet thing. Like here's like all the content I did on all the socials. And then I have a team of about 20 mods that go and review everything. And then it's like a scorecard, like 1 out of 5 on like 10 different things. And then we tally it, average it. They get points. And then we have like the Google spreadsheet. It's organized chaos on a Google spreadsheet.
I mean, I think that might be controversial. I don't know. I think that's absolutely genius and one of the smartest things I've heard from a marketing perspective.
Controversial in what sense? Like it's bad or?
I think not controversial. I think some founders are afraid to like aggressively sell like that. I guess it's not controversial, it's the wrong word, but that's so uniquely smart and different from what I'm at least aware of how people do this that it's just like it's just different. Like you found a loophole in a lot of ways. You had to build it. And then I think the cool part is it's not like you have a lot of infrastructure around this. It's a Google form.
Yeah,
And
it's
I mean,
just
that's
like
incredible.
I'll give a shout out to one guy here that does an incredible job. James
Yeah.
here, he does an incredible
He's the
job
first
for
one to
anybody that
join
doesn't
today.
know.
Yeah.
His game is viral all over TikTok. A lot of the comments, though, I'll be honest here, a lot of the comments are stop making so much content, make the damn game already. No, but let me tell you, I'm gonna be honest here. Early days when I didn't have VCs, I didn't have CPAs, lawyers, like when I didn't have all this stuff, I was a creator in a weird way. I was making content with like a camera guy. It was working. It was fun. It was blowing up. But then reality hit. I'm in meetings with lawyers and accountants and like bitching at people on the team to get shit done on time. And then at one point, like if you go look at the XLab YouTube channel, like early on, nonstop content. And then like the content kind of died down because it's unsustainable. Like, James, how do you do you make content all day? Or do you develop the game all day? Like, and then as your team grows, it gets more and more difficult. So, like, at one point, I was like, I need creators. So I thought the easy thing, oh, we have VC money. Let's hire influencers. It's so easy. Dude, burns so much money. If anything, it actually damaged us. Like, people started saying, like, oh, like, they're so rich. They pay all these creators. It's not even good. They're just paying for people to say it's good. Because, like, it sucks to say, but in VR, the reality is, like, there's such little volume of studios that have marketing budget that, dude, for like $100 you can get almost any guy to say your game's amazing. And like I rarely see a creator say anything negative about a game because it's such a small industry and they know it's hard that they don't want to say anything negative about anybody because they never know that guy might pay them in the future, and they're also everybody's starving in VR, right? Especially on the content side. So it gets to the point where the consumers are kind of like, I don't trust anything anybody says anymore. Like, it's just like everybody says everything's amazing 24/7. There's memes of some creators that they're like, oh, this is the best. And they're like, dude, here's like a TikTok of like the last 10 times you said this is revolutionary for the last 3 years. So it's like it loses all its purpose.
Yeah.
So at one point I was like, okay, if I can't be a creator and I can't pay creators directly, but then they don't want to do it like for free either because like they need to make money. So at one point I hired 5 YouTubers, brought them all to Miami, and then tried getting them to like make in-house content 24/7. Only one ended up actually being good. The rest, it's like artists. Like they make a little bit of money and then they don't want to work. Then they're broke 2 months later. Oh, I want to work again. Then they work and then they like make money and then it's like, and it's like managing like artists. It was a nightmare. I remember I had a creator house here in Miami. Like, dude, like they trashed the whole, like it was just didn't work. The best creator I had is actually he's been promoted. He's our game producer. So he stopped making content because he ended up being more valuable as a game producer, and he's amazing, and I'm super happy. But then him and I talking, we're like, how do we create authentic? Like it all got down to like we need creators, but we can't pay them directly because paying them kills everything. So that's when the whole like, hey, like let's give them a pathway to get a cosmetic because now they're incentivized. Like we're not paying them directly. They got to earn the right to have their in-game character to then get a percentage of it. Like it's like a whole thing, and it really works. But it took us years to get there, and also it's not like easy. Like you need to have like an artist, a 3D modeler. Like it requires work from us. So we want to just make sure someone's at level 3 and like been dedicated for at least 30 or sorry 3 campaigns, which takes 30 days, like not 90 days of dedication before you get a call with their creative director to get your own in-game skin.
It's I mean you talk about distribution is how you win. You always hear that from investors. And you've built a essentially free distribution channel that sounds like it's working very well. But also it's not just that this is working well. You figured out the distribution early on with this giveaway. Like you've actually had quite a few creative techniques. Is this you coming up with these ideas and
Look, I'm not
executing
a
them?
programmer. There's a joke. I'm the only person out of 30 people in the company that does not have Unreal Engine installed on their computer. I'm the only person that doesn't. So I play games all day and I just try to think of ways to market. I mean, like, I never studied marketing. I thought marketing was where, all the hot girls were in my school, which kind of that's all the hot girls at University of Miami studied marketing. All the guys studied finance. Like that was just like how it was. If I could go back in time, I would just study TikTok. Like short form content. It's the most powerful thing. A big inspiration is Gary Vaynerchuk. At one point, I went in the rabbit hole of just hundreds of hours of Gary Vaynerchuk content. It's not even about the quality. Sometimes it's just nonstop content. It doesn't even matter, raw, authentic, organic, just because attention spans are so short these days. But yes, unless you have a really big IP that you're licensing, like Halo or something that people know, Star Wars, or you decide to be the other guy and like just rip off one of these IPs and steal their brand value. If you're gonna make something original, you gotta focus on marketing. I make a joke. I'm like, bad product, good marketing, lots of money. Good product, bad marketing, no money. Good product, good marketing, you're Apple, right? Like you're doing it. But marketing is just it's something that I wish I knew early on. It's so important. And the reality is like Meta and Steam, like, they have these algorithms that try to reward you, but if you're a good game, but it's really on you as a developer to market it, and it's really short form content that has been the biggest driver. I think like 80-90% of our users, you ask them how did you hear about our game, it's TikTok.
And is that process, they see a TikTok, they somehow submit an email to you and then you sell? Or is it like they see a TikTok and they go buy it right
Oh,
away?
they see the TikTok and then they just go download the game or buy it.
Yeah.
That's just it.
So you're not cultivating other, ways of selling or
We
marketing.
collected at one point, we collected, I think like 300,000 emails,
Hmm.
just from different things. And in reality, like we tried selling a couple of things like merch. We tried selling the crowdfunding campaign. We tried selling all these things through
You
email.
did do the crowdfund successfully though, right? Or am I
Yeah,
right?
we just launched our third one. We're doing very well right now.
We
But
had Renji from Immersed on last week. He said you two just spoke, but yeah, he's
yeah,
done
yeah.
three big ones successfully too. So it seems to be a trend.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you this, for founders, crowdfunding is really what made our entire company. Like crowdfunding was because remember, like I don't know about you, what you guys are all doing, but we're a consumer product. Consumers understand it. It's gonna be hard to get like a regular person to invest into, I don't know, a B2B or an enterprise thing. But if you're doing something consumer related, like just I always go back to this. Kickstarter. There's companies that have raised millions and millions and millions of dollars on donations. Because if someone wants to see a product for themselves, like they're willing to donate. So equity crowdfunding is just that, but with stock, which is even cooler because it's like, hey, like, don't donate to me, like, invest in me. And the crowdfunding thing, we would not be here if it wasn't for the crowdfunding. I think when we raised our first million, we did it in 30 days from 1,500 people. Our Discord was 3,000 at the time. So like literally overnight, like half our Discord, boom, filled up $1 million in 30 days. That
And
was
so that's got to be like what, 2020 then, before you
that
raised
was
the VC?
2021.
So right before you raised the 5 million from Fuel
Yeah,
Venture.
we raised so the funny story is all these venture capitalists sort of cold emailing me. Oh, we
Mhm.
see this thing. Are you interested in VC money? That's when I didn't even know that VCs invested in VR things. So I started taking meetings. I got some god awful term sheets, like god awful. Um, oh, I didn't even realize there's a chat here. Sorry, guys. How much marketing did you do before crowdfunding? None. Nothing paid. Um, the crowdfunding was all organic through the Discord community that we built basically. And then we also got lucky because Miami went through a, like we're gonna become the Silicon Valley of Florida thing. So like
The
it was
metaverse
really
hype.
it was really like between the community we had. So the first crowdfunding campaign, it was $1 million in 30 days. It was like 80% Discord people that knew us, Reddit people, 10% the actual platform itself, Start Engine, because there's people on their platform that do just randomly invest. And then about 10% just like Miami locals that, were here for like the tech scene. The
And
second
that
crowdfunding
was
campaign,
Christine asked in the chat. Start Engine was the platform you used for all of these.
yeah, the first platform. No, so for the first two, we used Start Engine. For the latest one, we used another one called Dealmaker, which is very interesting, and I can get into details why we decided to switch. Um, but to go back, sorry. Um, the first crowdfunding campaign was all the Discord community. The second one, we got lucky because Miami was going through this thing, and like 80% of it came from like high net worth individuals, like all these San Francisco people that are like, oh, we want to invest in Miami startups. There's there's no such thing as a Miami startup. Like now there is, but like there was literally like five people doing something, and it wasn't a thing. So like we raised a lot through that. The reason why I went with crowdfunding is because venture capitalists were giving me god awful term sheets just because I was from Miami. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I didn't have like, like early stage investing is it's very simple, and I don't blame anyone for this, but they're like, "Oh, there's, this guy from Miami, he's never launched a game in his life. He's not technical. Like the chances of this succeed, like the chances of just shipping a game is like 1 in a million. Like why, you know what I mean? But then I was like, oh, we actually have a product you can try. And then they're like, oh wow, so it's like one in like 999,000. So like we got really bad term sheets. And then I saw some other people get way better term sheets without even having an alpha product that was testable because they were ex Uber, ex Ubisoft, ex something. So honestly, I was a little frustrated. I felt, a little discriminated against just because, I was from Miami. It wasn't a San Francisco thing. So I decided to go crowdfunding. The reason why we went crowdfunding initially, the founder of Start Engine is actually a co-founder of Activision. And we started talking, we became very good friends. His son actually ended up doing an internship for us in Miami, flew out and everything. I
Wow.
consider him a mentor. He's very cool, Howard Marks. So I felt like I'm gonna go with this crowdfunding platform where the CEO co-founded, Activision, right? Casually.
How did you find that out? I know that's not luck. Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
How did I come to the conclusion of going crowdfunding?
No, specifically that he's, former CTO or CEO of Activision and
It's literally he's very proud of it and he should be. It's in his bio. At the time, also I had like all the crowdfunding platforms. They're almost all similar. Like they're all very similar. I only went with this one because they have the Shark Tank guy Kevin O'Leary, which is a Miami local, and then they have Howard Marks. So Shark Tank guy Kevin O'Leary is the face of it. Very smart for marketing. Lives in
Mhm.
Miami. Met with him, and then Howard Marks is he has a lot of video game experience. Not only did he do Activision, he also did forgot the name of the company, but before Activision it was Mortal Kombat, if anybody's ever heard of that game. So I was like, you know what? The universe is telling me go with this guy. And it worked. So we were very happy. The reason why we left Start Engine and went with Dealmaker is because Dealmaker offers some really interesting things on the data approach. So if you want to crowdfund, I'll give you a perfect idea. Do you know what percentage of sales come from like converting users that left something in their cart on a store? Like, the user that like puts something in their cart but doesn't check out, and then you
Mhm.
get hit with emails like, "Hey, like you left this in your cart." A week later, "Hey, we saw this in your cart. We'll give you 10% off." A week later, "We'll give you 20% off. Final chance 30% off." Because it was in the cart and they have that data. Start Engine, you don't get any information um, from the potential investor until after they invest. So like once the funds clear everything, you get their name, their email, their address, right? You can talk to them. With Dealmaker, when someone clicks on your page, the first thing it says is name, phone number, or email.
Mm.
So guess what? Now we have all these people that are in the checkout process, and I had no idea how many people, like so many people, like put in their information, don't fund it, and now we have all these like email messaging, text message, like we're able to convert people so much better because it's like, hey, like you put this thing in your cart, you didn't check out. We can email them, we can call them, we can write to them. So if someone indicates they want to invest 50 grand, I can call them. Before, I had no information until after the fact. So
Amazing.
like that's the
Yeah.
big difference with Dealmaker, and it's been very good. It's been very, very good. Just being able to target and talk to people that showed interest but didn't close and get them to close.
You have this pattern of really figuring out details and how you can use them to your advantage. I'm quite impressed. Like that's happened over and
I'm the
over again.
only guy not in the game engine all day, so like I have
Yeah.
to, use my time on other things.
My real quick, I know you got to go in 2 minutes, but my last business we raised on Republic, and I found out a very minute detail where if you raise your limit within 2 weeks, they'll put you on the homepage. And so I figured out like who offline is going to commit to hitting me on day one of my full commitment. And then it snowballed to 600K because we just happened to be on the homepage. It was
I,
almost
I
nothing more than that.
learned after the fact most of these successful, we got very lucky, like
Mhm.
extremely extraordinarily lucky with the community thing initially. Then for the second campaign, I raised almost like 80% of it before even launching it.
Right.
And I realized talking to some of the most successful crowdfunding people that you see all over the internet with the media, dude, all these people have 80% of the money before they even launch. So it's like, and then the platforms they lie to you and they're like, oh, if you have a good company, you go on the platform and then you just raise it. No, you don't. Like you don't. It could happen. It can happen. It happened for us, but like looking back, I'm like, I can't believe like I didn't realize that all these people with all the media, like they have it raised before, launching. And then once you have the momentum, then it goes viral on the internet, and then you get the random people, the organic, right? So you have to like create the virality to go viral organically, but it doesn't just happen, which I
Mhm.
think all the founders here know. Nothing's just built by accident.
It's the very much the truth. All right, I know we're at time here, so can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, you can ask as much as you want. Go ahead.
Okay. Or if anyone has a question in the audience, that'd be great if Jonathan's able to hang, but if not, no worries.
I'm super available. I'm so grateful that you were flexible on that, Don. Like I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I have to ask him to like, you
No,
know,
this
push it
is
back.
I'm lucky if I get RSVPs out a week before, so this is we're well ahead of time. Um, all right, so we'll do a little audience Q&A if we're possible. But my question is, so Jonathan, are you teaching yourself all the marketing tools? Like, are you the one that's doing all this, or did you hire somebody to implement all this
I
stuff?
hired a lot of marketing companies and they all sucked.
Hmm.
In reality, like I've hired maybe 10 marketing PR companies.
Hmm.
Dude, they all have the exact same pitch. Um, so then I decided I want to hire someone internally. I interviewed like, I don't know, 20 people because our main VC was like, you got to hire someone with experiences in that. So I went to 20 people that have crazy track records and I was like, if you got hired here, what would you do in the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? I got everybody's thing. It's all like the same thing. It's literally all the same thing. And I just don't think it works. Um, if you talk to people that have been in like the e-commerce marketing side, like I have a friend that runs a really big online company for like just selling hats and shirts and stuff. He used to get 10, 20, 30x return on ad spend 10 years ago. He's lucky if he does 2x return on ad spend today. Like it's just a super saturated market. Um for products that are very small, like $30 price point, you got to think about something. If you're getting a sale on a video game for $30, you're losing $10 off the top. You have $20 left. Right now in VR, when I try doing paid media, like super optimized, I'm lucky if I spend $20, $30 to convert someone one time for $30. Like, it just doesn't work. So you have to, and then people back in the day, you'd hire an influencer. They didn't have to legally put this is paid, right? So like you can hire an influencer. Smart ones would make it organic, like, oh, I just casually ran into this thing and it's so good. I have to tell everybody about it. And they were killing it. But now it's so oversaturated, they even have to put legally, this is a paid promo. People understand, like, you can't not put that. It's illegal to not do that. So you can't pay influencers, you can't pay paid media. Like, it's very difficult. So you have to just do random things to sell your product these days. Like you just can't. The most standard way to do it that it's guaranteed success, but it's a full-time job, is the founder building his brand just like James. But then that's like that's the full-time job of a founder. And you'll even see this like look at Mark Zuckerberg. At one point someone said, "Hey, if people liked you, your stock would go up like crazy." No, and I studied behavioral finance, and I hate to admit this, but like there's real research that shows if the company CEO is likable, if he's a 6'2" white American male with this face shape and everything, like stocks go up. If it rains in New York, people are emotional. I mean, you can talk about meme stocks, right? Like there's no value here, they go up, and everything's based on emotion. Like Warren Buffett, like I don't even know how he invests anymore. Like all his theories, like I read all his books, like none of them apply to current
You
market.
gotta
So
wait another 30 years for the bubble to pop to do that.
yeah, but like the bubble's never gonna pop if everybody just keeps, funneling into this thing, right? It's like the world's
Yeah.
largest pyramid scheme, but that's our entire US economy, right? And it's no one's best interest for the bubble to pop, so it's gonna keep going.
Right.
The point is, you have to be it doesn't matter how good your product is. I'd even say like lower the quality of your product and invest more resources into marketing, because marketing is almost everything. And I mean, I'll even tell you, I have some friends, they make VR games and their budgets are extremely low. They are printing money though, because all they care about is, I need a really sick trailer with one feature that's unique that people come, they pay. You know what's funny is someone will pay $30 to go walk a plank for 5 minutes, be happy. But in our game, they'll pay $30 for 100 hours of content and sometimes still complain because it's not so it's like 5 minute experience, $30, 100 hours of content, $30. Like it's
Yeah.
it's really it's tough. It's really tough. So if I could go back, I would focus on marketing. The irony is I don't think a college degree in marketing prepares anybody for like the fast, short form things. Like Gary Vaynerchuk is probably better to watch than any content. But yeah, I never knew being CEO, I'd spend all day long. How do I make stupid, funny memes on TikTok? No, I mean it's the reality. Like people make fun of me and my company. They're like, "Oh, all Jonathan does is think about memes on TikTok and Twitter." But like Reddit posts, like shit posting is like such a big thing. Uh,
And you said 90% of your sales come from TikTok. Is that your personal profile or
no,
it's
no,
all from the company
it's all the
profile?
company. I tried. It's just like I don't like being the face of anything. I really don't. It's like not my vibe. I did it early on because I thought it would work and it did. But at one point, like I want to be like so low key. Like I really don't like publicity.
Wow. Where do you think marketing's going now that AI is implemented and you can automate some of this stuff?
We're testing some things right now to
Mhm.
just make random videos, and it's like it's pretty jank, but it's gonna get to the point where like any person can just like upload some stuff and then just get like 10 videos out a day. So it's gonna be really tough. Like it's gonna be really tough. I don't know. Even the TikTok short form thing is like starting to get saturated.
Mhm.
It's honestly, I'll tell you this. I've met a couple guys that are insane. Like they're just insane. Like they can go viral. Like like they know what goes viral, right? Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's luck if you go viral or not." Some people have cracked the code. The algorithms change though, but you need to kind of figure out what each platform prioritizes, is it watch time? Is it engagement like retention percentage? Is it how many times they watch the video? Is it shares? Is it comments? Is it this? Is it a mix of things? And then you just need to get people to like, do
Do
those
that.
actions.
Yeah.
And there's some people, I am very like this, like very, like I have a feeling for it just because I've been doing it. But like Mr. Beast is a perfect example. Um, that guy just really understands viral content. There's been a couple people that like, I don't know if you've ever seen those like TikToks, like you can make money off headless accounts. You
Yep.
know what I'm talking about? So I,
Yep.
I thought that was all,
Faceless.
I thought, yeah, faceless accounts. I thought that was a scam. I had one guy that's pretty big. He approached me. I'm going to do it for you for free. And if I hit these metrics, then you hire me. So he did it for me. He didn't go viral. And I was like, dude, what the hell? So then he showed me his thing. It works in a lot of different niches, like finance is a good one, Web3, AI, anything that's hype. Even for us on TikTok, like a long time ago, like our videos were getting millions of views. Now our videos get 10, 20, 50,000, like 100,000 if we're lucky. So like even like the VR fad kind of went away. Um, you got to really spend a lot of time on like this. And honestly, like the best people for it, ages 16 to like 25, like young people that live, breathe, and like sleep short
Yeah.
form content because the algorithms change 24/7. Like there's people at TikTok all day optimizing the algorithm, rewarding different things. Because at the end of the day, all they care about is keeping people on their platform, right? Like they're gonna reward you if you hit their goals. What their goals are, you have no idea, and they change them all the time. Mr. Beast, I don't know if you guys saw, but he flopped. He created like the Beast Games thing and he flopped because he tried making, I don't know if you like go research this, it's super fascinating, but he's used to like this 20-minute video format and this is the first time that he tried doing a series and it just totally flopped because he mastered the
Right.
20-minute video. He tried doing a series, hour long, 10-hour episodes, like totally flopped it. And there was someone on LinkedIn that wrote up like a whole case study on it. And I never really thought about it like that. And I was like, oh wow, like yeah. Because like people perfect their niche and right now it's 60-second or less videos.
Well, did you saw his leaked document, the employee memo internally?
No.
That it's a 30-page document you can find in the depths of Reddit. Some disgruntled employee released it. It is the most intense thing you can imagine, like almost down to the second, literally the second of like, 1 through 2 seconds we do this, 10 through 11 we do this, and it's like completely mapped out. And people gave him some shit for it because it was like a drill sergeant in the way that he was presenting this and forcing people to like really just take advantage of attention. I thought it was genius. I mean, it's business. It was quite cool. It's really worth reading
I'm gonna
though.
look. I mean, I think Mr. Beast is brilliant, but it even shows that like the number one YouTuber in the world.
Right.
He's a YouTuber. When he tried doing his first like TV series thing, totally failed
Yeah.
because it's very different pacing to, have the ins and outs and the flows of like this whole like 1 hour long episode that like leaves you on the edge for the second one, for the third one. Like even I don't even like Mr. Beast videos. Like I don't know why. Sometimes I watch them, I get addicted and I don't even like it. But like the way he does it like makes me watch it. I fell asleep 30 minutes into the first episode of the Beast Games thing. And then I
Hmm.
saw later on LinkedIn like this whole guy dissecting it. I was like, oh wow, you're right. It just makes you think, like whatever you're gonna do, whether it's 20 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, like you really need to perfect it.
Can I bring up James for a question? He had his hand up there. We'll do
Sure.
this as the last one here. Okay. James, come on.
Oh, I
And then I,
didn't
I
really
saw
have a
one
question.
person, Bijoy Jacob. Did you
Mhm.
acquire investors when you use Dealmaker? Yeah, we're still active on Dealmaker. We've been out for about 2 months. We're doing pretty well. If anyone here is interested in connecting to either Start Engine or Dealmaker, you can just shoot me an email, and it's my pleasure to connect you guys if you have something that makes sense for that. But I highly recommend if you're in VR. I recommend crowdfunding. I feel like there's millions of people that are obsessed with VR and will fund it compared to VCs. Like most VCs got burned in 2020 to 2022, putting in way too much money with like the pandemic goals. And most of the ones that are still in the game right now are just doing very early stage 50 to 250K checks. Like that's it. And I don't know about you guys, but it's very hard to build something meaningful with like 50K to 250K. It's just very hard. But go ahead, James.
Oh, I actually didn't really have a direct question. I was kind of more had my hand up earlier for the AI content thing. I was kind of interested in what you were looking into because we've also looked into like, is it worthwhile or even going to be a good idea?
It
And I
looks like right
found,
now I have two people on my team messing around with this. Like it's jank. It doesn't look like
yeah,
we can't do it. Right now, the best thing for us is the creator program. They submit TikToks and like, it's just real
oh, I
people
think
doing
that's
content.
genius.
It's just
That's
real
such a good
people doing
idea.
content, right? Like that's just but who knows, man? Like eventually people are gonna be doing these like fake like faceless social media accounts and like they're already starting to do it. Just more noise. I saw something that I think there's over 100,000 games on Steam right now, and like the top 1% own like 80% of the users. It's so hard to like
Crazy.
almost every business is monopolized, and you have to find really unique ways to stand out in a sea of content.
Definitely. No, we tried that HeyGen tool, which was actually really impressive. It can like clone your voice and basically do a video like standing from here up of you saying whatever script you feed it. But it's just so eerie. I actually think in the short term, it'll be best for everybody to not use that and make authentic organic content like we were talking about before, where it's like in the sea of AI generated things where you can kind of tell. I think it's only going to make you that much more visible and that much more valuable to be like a real person and not be afraid to be the face of your own thing. If you're not your biggest fan, who else is going to
I agree.
care?
I'm a big fan. I think you've been doing. I don't even know how long you've been going, but like I remember following you for a while, and then I met you in San Francisco, and what you're doing is it's really good.
Yeah, when we started there was no game. Actually, I did not make a game. Literally, it was we took all the Unreal assets and we put them in Unity because I didn't know how to use Unreal. And we just put a shit ton of plugins in one scene, and then we made the camera system where I could record selfies as an avatar. We had the stats you could look at. None of them worked. There was no eating. There was no hunger.
Oh,
None of it
I
existed.
actually have something really interesting for Don. Don, are you familiar with a guy named AJ? He's the CEO of a VR company called Live.
Live. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, of
love
course.
them.
Have you ever brought him on?
No, but I've talked to him many times on the phone over the years.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He just did an integration with his tech into Gorilla Tag,
Hmm.
and he is just like filled with marketing knowledge, like just super because he's got all the data on how millions of kids are using his tech to make content in VR. Definitely worth syncing up with him at some point.
All right, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, they gave us access to that, and we're going to use it to replace our like cave cam, is what we call it, our internal
Yeah,
tool. It's
we've been
just so much more
integrated with
robust.
Live for like ever. Like that
Yeah,
was like one of our first partnerships. And what's funny is initially didn't even think his thing was special. I just really liked him. I was like, I like you so much.
Yeah.
Let's work together. Whatever. Fast forward 4 years, he's the biggest thing ever, and I'm so proud. And he is brilliant. Like he saw something before anyone else did.
And he took
no,
the
they're so
business
awesome.
over and took over leadership. It's a pretty cool founder story. You're right. He'd be a great founder
The
story.
founder story is wild, but I'm
Yeah,
not
he
saying
like really fought it
I
out
know
to get there.
everything. Like I know literally everything, but
Yeah.
that is a whole other thing. Like, but definitely talk to him.
Yeah, that's a great point actually. Um, yeah, I mean, well, thank you, Jonathan, for coming. I don't want to keep you long. I
No,
think
there's
it's
no problem. I'm super. By the way, Don, I've been following you on like LinkedIn, and like I even came to a couple of your things. One time it was like Nanea, and it was another time also I forgot who. But I think what you're doing is like amazing for the VR industry. I'm super grateful for what you do also.
hopefully it works. Yeah, I think
It's working, brother. You connect people, you share ideas and stories, and there's really nowhere to look online to learn any of these things. Like almost everything I learned is trial and error, or talking to people like Renji, or talking to just people like AJ. Like everyone tries random things, and like when something works, you share it if you're nice. That's it.
I'll ask a question then about this group if you're kind of familiar with it. This I started it in March, so less than a year ago. This was my first ever post in the group. I hope we can bring together 150 of the best AR VR CEOs in the industry and help each other by sharing data and insights. This was, March, which was right here. Um, And the stuff in green are the workshops that I led, and then the stuff in blue is the conversations where we bring in special guests. And so like I've
Wow,
hit
this is
my
nice.
goal of 150 founders. And now I'm kind of like, what do I do next with the business? You know, this like clearly this is working. I think people seem to be getting good value. I did a survey from everyone in the group, and then I read through the whole survey. I put it all into GPT, and like these are basically the top four things that came out: inspirational, good vibes, great speakers and conversations like yourself, understanding the VC mindset, and then a home for XR founders. And then there's also some, negative stuff, which I'll go over with everyone else later, not to bore you. But yeah, I mean, like, what do you think you would do for the VR industry right now if you were in my position?
Um, Sorry, I just wrote to Giovanni. I didn't know that he was based literally 2 minutes from me, so I just gave you my phone number if you want to.
Absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
thank
No,
you.
that's
Thank
super
you.
cool. I always heard V Rider was like in Miami, but I didn't know that you were here, so thank you.
That's
Um,
that's a first for us, by the way, a phone number exchange. Normally we're lucky if we get an email. That's awesome.
oh, I don't know. He's a Miami guy.
Yeah.
What would I do if I were you? Your number one goal is to provide value to founders, right?
Mm-hmm. AR VR
Um,
specifically. Yes.
do you have all of like your like this video you're recording it, like do you have a place where I can go watch specific talks? Is it on YouTube? Is it
It's all private, but yes, we record everything with a transcript.
and then where does it like can people access it?
Yeah, so if you're a member of the group, um, you get this section. And so like here's the
Oh, okay.
investors
So
who
yeah,
showed
look. Oh, I know Maurice. That guy's brilliant.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't know who Luke is.
Here's
I
like
don't know.
the one you're talking
I know
about.
Ryan from golf. Yeah, I know FitXR. I know Trip. That's funny. VR is very small. I don't know. Like, I mean, like, look, for me, I'm finally at a point where like my business is stable and everything's good. I'm just kind of gonna, grind it out every day and just wait for the market to grow. Early on, I for me, the difficult thing was I didn't know how to start a company. I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't know where to find talent. I feel like finding talent is very difficult for like a niche thing like this. Um, I don't know. I think you're doing everything right. I mean, if you have this place where like everybody talks about different things, like I just consumed content on YouTube. I remember I did like all the Y Combinator videos and talks. Like I just consumed content left and right, but none of it was VR, right? It was just general startup. So I think that you just doing like, Y Combinator type videos with people, but in a specific industry is I think it's very valuable. I don't know. I think what you're doing is already very valuable. Um, I think raising capital is like learning how to do operations and scale is one side, and then raising capital is the other. Do you do like an investor newsletter? Like I'm assuming investors probably follow you.
Yeah, we have a thing where if you want deal flow, they give me their email and
Oh,
then I
so
vet them. Yeah.
yeah, like I was gonna say, like if you like, it's just those are the two things. Like teach people how to do things, and then help them raise money. Like those
Yeah.
are like the two main things, and it seems you already have both of them down. So I don't know if there's anything else more you could be doing.
Heard. Okay. I'll ask the members as well. But yeah, I was curious on your opinion on that. You
I'll
seem to have
think
a
about it if I can come up. I mean, I followed you. Like I was always very into what you're doing. I saw your story. You raised a lot of money. You did your company, and then you're like, all right, I want to help other people because it's very tough, and seems like you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate people like you coming on. It's really cool to hear the story. I love all these growth hacks you came up with. That's what I'm trying to think through
Oh,
right now. Yeah,
it's funny you put the word growth hack. You know who's a huge inspiration? Andrew Chen from
from Andreessen.
A16Z. He basically like so like I pitched A16Z, they passed. But I pitched them multiple times just because every time I talk to Andrew Chen, that guy's brilliant. And I think he's actually I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I've been told he created the word, like the term growth hacker. Like he was the first San Francisco growth hacker. He was the guy that started growth hacking for Uber when Uber first started. He's written books. He's got blog posts and he's all about video games and he is brilliant, like one of the smartest growth hackers ever. Um, but yeah, I realized, I guess you're right. The main thing I think about all day, it's not even marketing, it's growth hacking. Like
Right.
how do you like get certain things to happen virally and you can't just really pay your way through it sadly these days.
Yeah, that's where my mind's been is thinking through how you do that stuff. All right. Thank you, Jonathan, a million times over.
No problem.
Let
Thank you
us
very much,
know.
Don, and thank you to everyone here. My number's there. I'll put my email if anybody needs anything. I'm pretty accessible. Like I'm just on my computer all day, so if I can ever help anybody, you know, I'm here.
Cool. And the crowd fund, if anyone does want to invest, is on the AXELAB website. AXELAB website.
If you guys want to invest, I'll also take that $1,000 minimum. But if I'm assuming most people here are founders, and instead of investing, are probably going to ask me, how do I launch a crowdfund? I'm also here for that too. I've helped like I think I did six. I helped six VR companies launch crowdfunding campaigns, and I'm very proud of that. Um, I also know some VCs that do invest in VR stuff. Right now, the most active one is JP and Felix Hartman. They
Mhm.
just raised a second fund, but they're 250K checks. Even that, even like the first fund, like they were doing like million, $3 million checks. Like they realized like everyone in VR has, lowered their valuations, their check sizes. The reality is COVID and Quest 2 had this unrealistic expectation and everything's kind of where it should be now. So in a weird way, now is probably the best time ever to start a VR company because everything's normal. Like everything's realistic. Like people aren't putting you on these crazy unobtainable standards that, came when COVID and Quest 2 came out. Like that was just most companies that I know that were raised during COVID are bankrupt or about to go bankrupt or doing like the
Or
crazy
laid off everyone.
or the
Yeah.
crazy. I'm talking about founders or doing crazy down rounds just because the expectations were just so unrealistic and unsustainable. Quest 2 COVID mix, meta becoming meta, right? Like all these things. Like it's actually better that everyone's focusing on AI right now because it lets us VR folks just, under the radar, do your thing and make progress.
It's a good perspective.
Yeah.
It's
But thank you.
easier
I've been
said than
yapping
done.
forever, so I appreciate it very much, Don.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Keep going well and send us your marketing or whatever you have for how people get to the game, and then I'll share it with the newsletter as well as the recording or something like that.
No problem. Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate it.
Yep. Adios. Thanks again, Jonathan.
Bye.
Give a clap up, everybody. Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm gonna be here just listening. I don't know if you like are gonna.
Yeah, please. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Yeah. Spotlight. All right, cool. All right. So we normally do a little rundown session on some of the lessons afterwards there. Um, I want to do that, but I also want to get feedback from the members on the first year of experience. So let's start with what are maybe like the two key takeaways that you just had there. And if you want to stick around, then I'll do the surveys after. Yep, Christine, go for it.
Um, I don't think I want to go to Silicon Valley. I want to do crowdfunding.
Yeah, that was great. Agreed.
So, and plus, like, we're developing an Unreal too, and it is expensive. We have mocap, we need
Hmm.
artists, and so especially if we want to get players as avatars in the game, I mean, it's going to be more than what a check is going to write. And I'm not, I'm in the same position as Jonathan. Like, I'm not tech. Um, but so anyway, I thought that was great
You also have a very
feedback.
visual game and it's consumer, like you fit what he was talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. No, I think we're a great fit.
Yeah.
And I started on social as well. So just trying to build a community there because that was my plan B. Like, okay, if we're not going to get it from Silicon Valley or whatever, then I should do crowdfunding.
Yep. I mean, there hasn't been a single founder we brought on that has had success without telling us about their community.
Mm.
100%, 100% of the founders that we've had on have had that. Golf Plus, Nanea, Jonathan just did it. Like every single person that has a good business did that.
Mhm.
So I think it's the number one most important thing in VR, it seems like to me.
Yeah, and I also want to, because I don't come from gaming per se,
Mhm.
like I have a different perspective on like marketing and things like that, because I've done it for other companies and products. And so for us, I mean, I'm looking to get college student ambassadors for our game to promote the game at D1 schools. Like we've approached a bunch of them that would be interested in doing that. So, and they love TikTok, so I think they'd be perfect at that too.
Yeah, similar to Jonathan's creator program. You can have them apply and vet them.
Mm-hmm.
Other takeaways? James, I didn't realize you were such a TikTok star, by the way. What the heck? That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, back in the heyday when everything was going viral on TikTok, it's a completely different game now, I would say.
Yeah. How many followers or what are the numbers you hit?
We have 122,000 followers on TikTok, but yeah, that's our primary platform. So a lot of people, when the whole like TikTok's getting banned thing was going around, everyone's like, "What's the big deal? Just move to Instagram." It's like some people literally do not understand just the value of that platform and
Right.
how much it's the cost of like free advertising. You have to do ad spend anywhere else to even come close to the kind of engagement you get naturally without spending a dime on TikTok. So
Have you had people sign up then from your TikToks? Like, are you,
almost our entire community. Yeah, we have like 7,000 Discord members, and
Wow.
directly 100% of them are just a fraction of what came from TikTok. Our other platforms are like 1,000 followers.
Can you show us a screen share of like one of the videos that's worked really well and try to break down how you made it or why it worked, maybe?
Oh, I can explain how I made them, but it's not going to work anymore. I think Jonathan really hit the nail on the head talking about how the short form content like had the virality of keeping the clips under like third. Sorry, I gotta take my dog out after this. 13, 30-second clips. I used to do a 15-second clip. In the first 2 seconds you show your face in the video, wave to
Mhm.
the camera. I used the AI captions to say everything. I never spoke because I just wasn't comfortable talking in front of a camera. And
Mhm.
ironically, one of those videos hit 2.5 million views, just completely randomly on the FYP for
And
you page.
how frequent are you publishing, and are you doing it at the same time each day and scheduling it out on Buffer, or you're just going and posting it?
No, yeah, I used to do it at the same times. I used to have like almost a ritual to it. I used to post the two different times that worked for me for my audience was like around midnight, Tuesdays
Mhm.
and Thursdays, and around or like 1 a.m. or 3 p.m. And that's because that's when all the kids get out of school. So they're all on TikTok.
Mm, smart.
But yeah, I do like twice a week. Some people say post every day. I never did that. Different things work for different, I think, niches. Um, But yeah, the big thing is I started marketing before we had anything, before we had a game at all. I did not know this was the idea that was going to be the first one that goes viral. I thought I would probably have to try this a couple times before I found a concept that worked, but no, the first one just went instantly viral, like within the first 10 videos from
Yeah.
a zero account, and also on Twitter, like an account with 0 followers. First post has 100 likes. I was like, oh shit, we actually have something.
And you drive people to a link in bio to sign up per Christine's
Yep.
question?
Yeah, what we used to do is we'd have a direct link to Discord. So what we would do is we would convert
Ah,
our anonymous TikTok followers into directly a Discord account
mm,
um, immediately from the bio. It would literally be our direct join link. So they would, but then they changed it, right? So it changes constantly. You have to keep up with it. And what changed was you could no longer access a direct Discord join link from the TikTok browser. You couldn't even like open and tab. It just wouldn't work anymore. So everyone moved to Linktree. So now everyone uses a Linktree, which is what we have. But
right.
yeah,
There's
the
some
link in
drop
bio.
off you don't know about. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But yeah,
awesome. Good for
the
you.
kind of content also changes constantly. So the kind of videos that we went super viral on,
Uh-huh.
it's a lot harder to go viral with something like that now. Also, the audios you use is really important. So
Hmm.
like using trending audios, a lot of licensed music and a lot of other things that you literally wouldn't be allowed to post on YouTube or somewhere else. Oftentimes I have a TikTok that I repost on YouTube and it gets the audio cut just because it
Flag.
contains a clip of something.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started interviewing marketing firms or people and growth hackers and like just anyone that has any understanding of this. About a week and a half ago, I've had like 10, 15 interviews trying to find somebody. Um, and I think Jonathan's point's interesting. It's like they all say the same thing. They all have proof points. And I like all of them too. It's like I don't know how to decide, which almost leads me to believe like maybe I can just do it myself, and like you're an inspiration for that, hearing that. Jonathan's found some really clever ways. I think it might be a better way to just do stuff yourself on the marketing front.
The
Yeah, Don,
creator
I think,
like school is brilliant.
Mhm.
Sorry.
yeah, personally, I think the talk was fantastic. It's real. There's no flake in this. And I think what John has mentioned is practical marketing standards is been touching. That means it's not about what standards, whether you're using influencers, you have to try out some other means, which is really breaking the market for you. You can't go through the whole, the world channels to accept you. Another thing is when we talk about VR, it's really niche. So even if you have VCs, they have limitations to accept because of the competition is high. There are so many, whether it's genuine, copied, or authentic, services that you have. So um, knowingly or unknowingly, he has looked at the marketing in a different way. He reached at the right place for investment. I think John also had the timing as something big, right? So a person like me who just left DHL a year ago as a chief innovation officer, starting my own business, I have a different mindset. Literally, I'm seeing millennial mindset across and a corporate mindset. And there's a huge clash in between. So this is something which I think, particularly crowdfunding, we see crowdfunding as a benefit, but the ability to raise funds in short term, particularly for your projects, is key, right? So, and then comes the scalability, and I think we heard Christine also raising the whole question about how do you scale and how do you keep the scaling momentum, right? So it depends on also the progress that
You
we
were
want.
you were chief innovation officer at DHS,
DHL Group.
DHL. That's pretty
Yes.
awesome. Wow.
Yeah, I set up the whole AI practice for them for 8 years, and also the blockchain and AI practice. I have 16 patents,
That's great.
combining blockchain and AI worldwide. So yeah, so after working for 18 years, I just left the company and moved to US. So that's
Definitely a different culture going to startups from there. That's
right.
for
That
sure.
is totally a corporate culture.
Yeah, that's
You
awesome.
know,
All right, we're at time, so I just want to power through this last part. So this will just help build a better collective. Um, Here's all the conversations we've had. Like Christine, you've come to most of these. I would say, um, this started off as like I don't know what was going on, and then you can see just visually how this bulked up after a while. Um, so does everyone agree that like these are the things you liked about your experience so far in the Spatial Collective? These four. Is there anything that's missing? I've gone through everyone's answers for the survey. Thanks for responding very much. But yeah, I'm curious.
And then
What did
just networking with other founders.
you miss that or you like that?
I like that.
Um,
I don't think it's on your list.
no, I that was one of the things I got. I was told by many people that there's not enough of that networking.
Mm.
And so this member cross pollination is the key thing I'm gonna start to think about of where we can improve. Um, okay, so that's good. I'm glad you like that. We're gonna do more of that, and we're gonna do them as avatars this time around as well. Anyone else have a thought here? Something they like that's not here?
Oh, also on speakers, if we have suggestions of people we come across in the industry, can we just post it to you in school?
Yeah, I think I need some sort of speaker referral and member referral system. I haven't set any of that up, but I think that would be effective. Also, it's pretty timely for me to go get a hold of people. So if we can leverage our network and bring in speakers, that'd be amazing to do that 100%. Other thoughts? here's the see if I can show this real quick. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Not next week. I'm taking the week off. And then this is what we're gonna do the following week. It's pretty sick. Let me just show it real quick. Okay, so we're gonna. I wonder if you can see this. Can you see the avatar character on the screen
Mhm.
share? Okay, so I'm gonna get a venue from Vertway for a spatial collective. Everyone can see this person walking around. Okay. And we're gonna meet in here as avatars. It's all spatialized sound. I think probably we'll have people like sit here during the keynote, and then we're gonna do a networking session where you can walk up to everybody and move around the room and chat. So my hope, Christine, is to start to do these maybe on a monthly basis where we can bring members together and network. It's also something I don't need to be there for every single one, and so I think it'll be a good kind of way to give some of the cross pollination responsibility to everyone else. So I think that'll be pretty cool to try. So
Yeah, I spoke at a VR AR conference where they had a platform like that. I should look up which one they used, but it forced every speaker and every attendee to create their own avatar. And
Mhm.
they had to like prep everyone before so they wouldn't screw up. Like, okay, you
Over
have
the
to be in
last
the lobby
decade,
first,
growing awareness of fair practices.
and then to be in the lobby and then come out
Mhm.
and get on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's gonna be some growing pains for sure. But if any group can figure this out, I'm quite confident it's this group because we're all native VR people. All right, and then last question, we'll hop off here. So, what are some things that people think we can do better as a group? Here are some of the answers. Cross pollination. So we're gonna start doing these networking. Community engagement in the school has died down. Like people come to these chats, these are amazing, but like the actual forum. So I think if I bring in like a content person, I'm gonna have them help out getting some of that stuff going. I think that the thing that I'm curious about, which I'd love to know, is like here's one of the members' responses. Much more focus on VR than AR. I lose some interest when things are too AR VR. I mean, this is something I'm thinking about a lot too, is like, should this community be AR VR specific? Based on asking that question the last week, it sounds like a resounding yes. And Don, shut the heck up. You should just keep doing what you're doing. But for me personally, I feel like it's not the biggest market, and so it's hard for me to grow this. Like we've kind of capped out at 200 people, more or less. And so I'm trying to figure out like it's obviously still valuable if we can bring in founders that have raised 30 million that aren't AR/VR startups. But what is everyone's take on pure AR/VR versus expanding this to more just seed stage general frontier technology?
Or what about just bringing in like marketing people? Because I think that's something that's universal.
Yeah, it
And
would be
plus
yeah.
it would give us like new ideas or even to brainstorm with someone
Um,
from other industries.
Yes, I exactly. Yep, exactly. So, what are the best practices that just work? Like Jonathan's talk there was great. These best practices work. Um, exactly. So, it's not necessarily AR VR, but it's just like these are what early stage startups figure out.
Like operationally or something like that that's
Exactly.
universal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like we're gonna hit an AR VR wall at a certain point this year, and so I'm trying to plan ahead and think through like what's other valuable content that we can still get value from. Which also means like we're gonna have people join here potentially if we do this that are like building AI accounting startups. And so I'm hesitant to like figure out like does that muddy the water or are we still gonna get the same lessons around a seed stage startup is essentially a seed stage startup. You have to go through the same process of revenue and traction and all that stuff. Pure AR VR or not? Give me some thumbs up, thumbs down here. I need some feedback.
I like the
I don't mind
AR VR.
expanding, but I like AR VR, but I don't mind like tangentially related things. Like I feel like spatial AR, like mobile AR, gets kind of overlooked a lot. It's still
Mhm.
AR, but it's just not like VR AR. if that makes sense. So maybe apps in general could be a fine expansion. I don't know what y'all think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. All right, I'll think. Yeah. Okay, I'll think about it then. From my perspective, I'm just not sure there's enough. Like I read a report the other day that said there was 950 VR startups in the world, and that really stuck with me. I was like, wait, what? 900, like we've got 200 of them in here. Like what? We're like half the market or whatever. So that really stuck with me. And now I'm like, maybe there's just not enough people that care about this stuff like we do. So I don't know. I'm questioning that side of it.
I think maybe it's more so like the there is looser definitions of what like a metaverse is, for example.
Uh-huh.
So if you think of like what is the best metaverse, like you might think like it's got to be virtual, like augmented reality, but like Fortnite is probably the best metaverse, followed
Sure.
shortly by like Roblox.
Mhm.
So like if someone was working on a Roblox slash Fortnite type thing, I think their insight would be roughly the same as anyone working on like a metaverse platform, and whether
Mhm.
it's in VR or not. So I could see value in that. I worry about too lack of focus would mean that I think as VR founders, we might get slightly less value out of it. But as long as it's like, I think a lot of game developer advice relates to me personally, but it may not work for other people working in VR who are working on something else, like something B2B. So, like, if you had a game dev on here, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's valuable for me. But many other people may be like, not so much.
Or just balance the content between B2B and B2C.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. If we're gonna do it pure AR VR stuff though, or like with a clear AR VR lens, I'm gonna need some help finding those other 905 founders out there because that's a very small group of people in a $4 billion people out there. All right, we'll figure that out then. All right, thank you for the feedback. I don't want to hold everyone up. I also got to take my dog out too, James. Thank you, everybody. That was amazing. Please send
Thank you.
Jonathan a thank you message. And next time we see each other, we'll be avatars. So RSVP for that inside of school when I upload it. Adios.
Nice. Thanks, Don.
Yep. Bye bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.